What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the all-new 2021 Cadillac Escalade. So the Escalade is super impressive, entirely brand new here for 2021, and man, they knocked this thing out of the park. As much as it is a very nice car to drive as well, and they made a bunch of new improvements with this new platform, this interior, I think, is the biggest highlight of the Escalade experience. It is just mind-blowingly nice in every single way. I mean, you have this sea of screens, you have just all these luxury features. This one even has Super Cruise, which means you don't even have to steer on the highway whenever it's able to do that. I mean, it is crazy just how impressive this interior is.
Yeah, I think it's so great and super impressive.
So first, sitting down in the seats here in the Escalade, there are these super soft, comfortable seats. I love this cool pattern you have on them here, which I think is supposed to reflect the little segments of the Cadillac badge, but regardless, it's just so cool. I love this like mocha brownish purplish type of color for the leather. It's really luxurious feeling and looking, and these seats of course are loaded with features. So this is a top sport platinum trim. So with this trim you get massage seats. They're also heated and ventilated seats as well, and so all those features work great. And the massage especially is very vigorous. It is like a very intense massage. There's several different massages to choose from. It's really such a nice seat and will definitely keep you comfortable for a long time.
Yeah, and coming over to the passenger side, you have all of that same stuff included, so it's really great.
Yeah, you got that height adjustment, got the lumbar adjustment, all that kind of stuff. So very luxurious vehicle. But I mean, this one as tested, by the way, is $113,000. So at that price you would expect to have all those features, but it is certainly nice that it doesn't miss out on any of those features. Next is the steering wheel here in the Escalade, which is super nice, a very great wheel. Now you will see some familiar buttons to the Tahoe and the Yukon with these rubbery plastic kind of buttons here for the one part here, and then the metal row of buttons you also get in the Chevy and the GMC. But that's the only part that, you know, feels like it might be a tiny bit cheap. Everything else is super nice. Just very rich feeling leather, has a great 9-3 grip. I love this wood you have here on the steering wheel too. It just is a very luxurious looking wood, nice and dark. You also have the Super Cruise light indicator here on the top of the wheel, which is very cool. And you even have paddle shifters on the back of the wheel. Don't really need them. I don't think anyone's gonna really use them honestly in a vehicle like an Escalade, but nice to have that as well. And it's a really attractive wheel with the stitching here on the airbag cover and everything. Looks really nice. The gauges here are just one part of this massive curved OLED display. Now it is 3 different panels, but combined it's 38 inches of screen from one end to the other. I mean, it is very impressive. So first off, you have these massive gauges here. It's very bold and high resolution. Lots of customization as well for both the left side and the right side there to, you know, give you as much or as little information as you want. But I mean, even compared with the newest digital gauge clusters you get in like the new Corvette and stuff like that, this is even larger than that. This is 14.2 inches. So it is completely unique to the Escalade here and very expensive looking and feeling. And then to the left side here, you have this little dedicated 7-inch trip computer, which is touchscreen actually, and so you can use that to pull up your night vision camera, your augmented reality camera for navigation, which it will display in those gauges. It'll also show you a full map view if you want to see that. I mean, there is so much cool tech here with the way this looks, so you can have, you know, as much or as little as you want with all that. But I love that whole setup. And while we're on the topic of the gauges, very briefly, it also does have a head-up display, and so that'll display a couple different things. It's not maybe the most advanced head-up display out there, but it is still very nice and, you know, very clear, pretty large. It'll show you your speed, the speed limit, also you know, any turn-by-turn navigation stuff. You can also do a couple other things there, but still very nice to have that. Although honestly the gauges are so large, I don't even think you even need the head-up display, but it's nice to have. And then moving on to the rest of the screen here, coming over to the middle here, it's this 17.2 inch widescreen curved OLED. It's a beautiful screen, and this also has this new infotainment software as well. So this isn't shared with any of the other normal stuff you see with all the other GM vehicles that have the same infotainment stuff. This is totally unique and very cool. So nice large icons for everything here, and then scrolling through your audio and stuff, that's all very easy to do as well because you have, you know, nice large on-screen toggles. So you don't have any kind of actual tune knob, but you do also have this little rotary controller to control everything on the screen if you don't want to actually use the touchscreen, so that's nice.
And I think as a passenger, you probably would want to use that knob because it is a curved OLED screen. It does not give the passenger as much access as they normally would if it was a flat screen.
Yeah, this whole screen is a little bit more of a reach than I would personally like, and I think for you too, it's a little bit more of a reach.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a reach for the passenger. I mean, even if I was having my seat super forward, it would still be a little bit of a reach, but since I have my seat at a normal seat adjustment, it is still pretty far from me.
Yeah, so that's just one thing you'll want to kind of try out whenever you're in one of these. But I mean, even if you do have to reach for it a little bit, honestly, this screen is so cool. I don't mind it personally. I think it's just an awesome looking screen. But yeah, if they brought an inch or two forward, it would be kind of nice. It also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto functionality, and it's nice to have that actually be wireless. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't utilize the entire screen. So I think that's an Apple thing, an Android thing, where they just don't have any kind of template for a screen of this shape. So it just kind of gives you a smaller view of that. It still was a very large, widescreen display for the smartphone integration, but it would be nice if it filled the entire thing. But I think that might, again, not be Cadillac's fault. And you can also use this screen to custom tailor a bunch of other stuff, as far as whether it's searching for navigation instructions, or you can even custom tailor the ambient lighting in here with this screen and everything. There's user profiles. You can have it all set up just for you and your user profile if you want. All kinds of great stuff there, but it's also very easy to digest. This isn't a vehicle where you need to have a degree in computer science in order to understand this. It's a lot easier and simpler to understand than all the German stuff, in my opinion, and with their millions of submenus, there isn't, a million different options with this screen, so I really like the simplicity of it. I think they nailed it with this infotainment software. One other thing that's amazing about the entertainment experience here in the Escalade is this AKG 36 speaker studio reference stereo system, which I've only had this vehicle for a little over 24 hours so far, but from what I can tell, I would say it is safely the best stereo I've ever heard in a car. Like, I got goosebumps listening to some of my favorite very grand songs on this sound system. I mean, it is mind-blowingly good.
Yeah, it's really insane. I just think it's crazy that you can hear the echoes some of the artists put into their songs, things like that you wouldn't hear just from your normal headphones or just playing it off your phone. It's really insane. And we were using it through Bluetooth. We weren't plugging it in or using a CD or anything like that. And it's just really, really impressive.
Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning there is no CD player here as well, so you have to do a wired-in thing if you want the best quality possible. But yeah, I mean, that is truly remarkable that Bluetooth still sounds as good as it does. I mean, the dimension of the sound. I mean, I've never heard so much depth in an audio track in my life, and that's, I have Bose, Bose over-the-ear headphones and stuff like that. It doesn't come close to the experience you get in this. It is just, honestly, it sounds better than real life. Like, if I was, having that person sing that recorded track to me, it wouldn't sound as good as it does with this. Like, it's that good.
Yeah, it's basically concert quality, I think. In my mind, it's like you're sitting right there, front row center. Perfect. Yeah,
it's amazing. They did a fantastic job with this stereo, especially when you crank it up and do the full surround sound experience. It's mind-blowing. And so bravo, Cadillac. This is hands down the best stereo I've ever experienced. It's amazing. So anyway, moving beyond that though, so we have the climate controls here in the Escalade, which are this really cool little unique toggle row kind of bank where you have these little color screens, and it's very cool that there's little animations. For example, whenever you go up in temperature, it kind of gets a little bit larger and then zooms back out a little bit. It's a really nice touch that again goes the extra mile here in the Escalade, so it isn't just the same controls you get in some type of Tahoe or something like that. It is totally unique and custom for this vehicle. And I think that all the switches and stuff all feel very nice. The only thing that actually feels a tiny bit cheap here is that you have the same plastic shifter as you get in all the other Cadillacs. So that could be a little bit nicer, because a lot of the other shifters in some of the competing vehicles these days are made out of crystal or glass or something else that's a little more expensive feeling, or even just have a little bit more metal on them than this. That and the little buttons on the steering wheel are the only parts that feel cheap in this interior. Every other square inch of this thing is covered in leather or metal or, you know, some type of nicely padded surface. So everything is very, very impressive. And even that goes for the center console here. Now, there isn't as much plushness to this area as you might get in some other vehicles. It is a little bit firm, but it is still covered in a little bit of a softer texture. But that is one thing I wish they could maybe pad that a little bit.
And speaking of the center console, the one thing I'm not crazy about is that this wood has this gloss finish, because this is a brand new car and I already see scratches on it. So it's kind of not the best. I wish that it was just more open pore wood or something similar to that wouldn't catch all of these scrapes and scratches and stuff like that.
And even fingerprints.
Yeah.
I think it'll attract a lot of that. Also in this area though, that we can move on to storage spaces here in the Escalade. So you'll see a USB jack and USB-C jack right at the top here. Another little square area you can fit some random knickknacks in. Then you have 2 cup holders and your wireless phone charger here. And the really nice thing about this wireless phone charger is it actually reflects it up in the screen and lets you know that it's actually charging, which is great, because some wireless charging pads, they're not super good at keeping contact. And so the fact that this one will let you know if it goes off the charger and stuff like that is really nice. And it also has these little rubber notches in here to really hold your phone in place without being too tight. At least my iPhone 11 Pro fits in there just fine with room to spare. Maybe some of the larger smartphones might be a little bit tight, but if you have, you know, one on the smaller side, I think you'll fit just fine.
And even my phone fits really well, and I have a case and a pop socket on it, so that's great.
Yeah, so you can get some thicker stuff in there as well and it'll be just fine. Also in the doors here you have a nice large pocket which has a bottle holder and another really large area there. And then back in the middle here though, you have the center armrest, which does have some nice soft padding on it. I really love the Escalade badge here in metal on the back of it. And anyway, you open that up and then you will see a cooler here. So this is an option. It's about $600 for this option. And so you can actually refrigerate your beverages here in this, and it's very cool. I don't see any kind of actual vents here, so I don't know how it gets cold. It might just be an electrical thing, but it does get nice and cold in there, and so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you could probably fit like a pint of milk in there. Maybe not a gallon, or just depending on like how your gallon is actually shaped, because you couldn't fit like a normal gallon in there. But, you know, you couldn't fit a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah, a bunch of cans or bottles or something like that will fit in there great. If you don't have that option, then this will of course just be a normal cubby, and you can still put normal things in here even if you get this option. They'll just be nice and chilly if you have that on. And then you also will see a USB jack and another USB-C jack in there and an SD card slot. You have no shortage of spaces. Even here in the center console area, there's these other little cutouts that have some nice felt lining, and even on your side it has a power outlet, which is nice. Backseat space here in the Escalade. Of course, this is a large SUV, so you're going to have plenty of room. And with this new generation Escalade, it's on its all-new platform, and they did an independent rear suspension, and the wheelbase is a little bit longer, so you have much more third-row space and a more comfortable third row than you'd had in the past. But first off, in the second row there, I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. Obviously, I have plenty of legroom, plenty of headroom, and that goes for even if the seat's in the slid all the way back position, but also whenever it's slid all the way forward, I can still sit behind myself and have, you know, an inch or so of legroom to spare if you want to even maximize that third row space. So I mean, plenty of space back there, and they're also heated seats in that second row. And also when you look forward, you'll see they have their own dedicated climate controls there, which are just as nice as the ones up front here. And also you'll see there's some little cup holders that deploy out there when you open that little console up. And also when you look further down, you'll see 2 HDMI ports as well as 2 USB-C jacks and a normal house current plug. And so that is so you can run some type of, you know, game system or Blu-ray player or something like that on these rear media screens that it has. Now, there's no Blu-ray drive that I can see, so I believe you just have to hook up your own device or something in order to have those screens do anything, but it's nice to have them. They're very large. Also, these rear occupants also can enjoy this huge panoramic roof that you have here in the Escalade, which is a really nice touch. And also they have their own pockets in their doors as well, so they have lots of space to store things. And then moving on to the third row here though in the Escalade, like I said, pretty spacious. And so not only is it spacious with the seats slid all the way forward, obviously it's going to have a ton of space there, but even with that second row slid all the way back, I still fit behind myself just fine. And so I mean, it's pretty impressive that you can actually use the regular Escalade here as a full-time 3-row crossover that, you know, transports 3 rows of people all the time. It seats 8, by the way, if you do get the bench there in that second row. And so I mean, Tons of seating capacity here, and it's very impressive. So at this point, honestly, the only reason why you would get the Escalade ESV, which is still available, is if you want the extra cargo space, because you're not going to be able to fit 3 rows worth of people's cargo in the back of a regular Escalade, at least, not behind those seats. You can drop those third row seats if you want, by the way, to have more cargo space. But if you want to keep that third row up, trunk space is pretty limited, and you do have a little bit of a storage space underneath the floor, but it's very shallow. So basically what you see there on the top is all you're going to really be getting. But there are, power fold seats there. And it does also have the kick to open feature for that power tailgate. And also, little tip, if you are trying to open up that tailgate and you're wondering where the button is to open it up, I accidentally hit the glass opening thing, because you can actually open up the rear glass there independent of the hatch if you want. But to actually open the rear hatch itself, you just press on the giant Cadillac logo on the back there, and that's how you open that up. It took me a few minutes to figure that one out. But yeah, it's a good amount of space though for a 3-row SUV of this type. If you don't get an extended wheelbase version of the other stuff like the Navigator, you're kind of faced with the same kind of scenario. So just keep that in mind as far as how much cargo space you're actually going to need and want. Yeah, at $113,000, this one fully loaded is a little bit pricey. But whenever you look at a comparably equipped Navigator, even with the black package that they now offer, which is like over $6,000 for some reason in the Lincoln, those are $110,000 as well. A BMW X7, which is more cramped than this, is also $110,000 comparably equipped to this. Same thing goes for a Mercedes GLS, which has less room than this does. So, I mean, I think the Escalade is pretty much the clear winner as far as the interior goes. It just, when you see all the other interiors, they all kind of look old-fashioned compared to this, honestly. This really took it to the next level. Really feels futuristic and high-tech. And yeah, I absolutely love it. But that's all of our thoughts here on the interior of the Escalade. Be sure to watch the driving review as well, where I go more in depth on the pricing, fuel economy, and how it drives and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check that out. Huge thanks to Cadillac though for providing us here with this Escalade to spend just a couple of days with. But that's all of our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.